She told me she loved me. That's what made it worse, because when she cheated, it wasn't for lust or even love. It was for a joke, a game, a bet. You ever look back at a moment and wonder if the universe was trying to warn you, not with a lightning bolt, but with a whisper you chose to ignore? That's how it feels when I think about Riley. We met sophomore year of college. I was 20, broke, and barely holding together a C average in mechanical engineering. She was a psychology major with a soft spot for sad music and broken people. Not that I realized I was one of them until later. She had this laugh, not loud, not fake, just honest. The kind that made you look up from whatever you were doing and want to be part of the conversation. Riley was magnetic in that quiet way, like gravity disguised as charm. And I didn't stand a chance. We weren't the same. I was introverted, logical, the type who double-checked locks twice. She was chaos in eyeliner and vintage boots, staying out late, running on caffeine and impulse, always surrounded by friends who seemed to orbit her like she was the sun. But we worked. God, somehow we worked. She made me feel seen. Like really seen. The way she tilted her head when I talked. Like my thoughts were something worth listening to. She learned my tells, knew when I was overthinking, knew when to pull me out of my own head without saying a word. By senior year, we moved in together. Tiny off-campus apartment, mattress on the floor, dishes always in the sink, but it was ours. And it felt like enough. More than enough. We had our fights, sure. Mostly about little things. Her being late. Me being too rigid. She hated how I needed plans. I hated how she needed chaos. But love covered a lot of that. Or maybe I just thought it did. Because looking back now, I see the cracks I painted over. The things I excused. The stories I didn't ask about too deeply. Like her nights out with the girls that never showed up in photos. Like her phone always on silent after 10 p.m., even on weekends. Like that one party I wasn't invited to because it was just a close friend thing. But when I picked her up, she reeked of vodka and had a hoodie in her bag I'd never seen before. Not hers. Not mine. I asked. She said it was Anna's. I didn't press. That was my pattern. I didn't press. Riley had this way of making you feel like any suspicion you had was a flaw in you, not in her story. And maybe that's on me. For being conflict avoidant. For not wanting to be that guy who didn't trust his girlfriend. But the night everything shifted, the night I really started to feel something was wrong, wasn't dramatic. It was a Tuesday. She came home from a bar crawl with her friends, giggly and drunk. I helped her out of her boots, sat her on the edge of the bed. She leaned into me, eyes glazed but soft, and whispered, "You're too good for me. You know that?" I smiled, kissed her forehead. "You're drunk." She didn't laugh, just stared at me, then said, "I wish I could freeze us like this, before anything gets ruined." And that sentence just sat with me, heavy. Before anything gets ruined. I asked what she meant, and she waved it off. Said she was emotional, tired, that her period was coming, and it made her weird. I let it go, but I couldn't forget it. That was 4 months before the truth came out. For months before I found out about the bet. For months before I learned that the girl I trusted with my whole heart had gambled with it for fun. And the worst part? She didn't even lose the bet dot. She chose to lose. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't always arrive like a wrecking ball. Sometimes it's more patient, like a leak under the floorboards. By the time you notice the smell, the rot's already set in. A few weeks after that night, that before anything gets ruined moment, things actually seemed better. Riley was affectionate again, playful. She'd sit next to me while I was studying, head on my shoulder, tracing circles on my arm like she used to. One night she made dinner, pasta with burnt garlic bread and undercooked broccoli, and called it a domestic masterpiece. I laughed, told her it was awful. She threw a towel at me and kissed me with that smile that made me forget everything I'd ever been mad about. I wanted to believe we were okay. That whatever weird thing had made her say what she said that night was just that, a weird, forgettable moment. But the thing about peace is, when you've been anxious long enough, it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like the calm before something you can't name. It was little things, again. Her phone, always on her. Not just near her, but literally on her body at all times. Even in the shower. I joked about it once, said something like, "You hiding nuclear codes in there?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. She'd started spending more time with a new group, people from her psych program I didn't know that well. She mentioned them casually, like they'd always been there. I didn't think much of it at first, but then she started name-dropping one of them more than the others. Cody. Cody said this thing in class today that was actually super smart. Cody and I grabbed coffee to go over the case study. He's weirdly good at Freud. Cody dared me to eat an entire plate of hot wings, and I almost died. The first time I heard his name, it barely registered. By the 10th, it made my stomach tighten in a way I didn't want to admit. It wasn't jealousy. At least, not the kind I was used to. It was more like déjà vu. Like hearing a song you don't remember, but it makes you sad anyway. So one night, I asked, casual, over takeout, "So, who's Cody again?" She didn't even flinch. "Just some guy from my psych group." "Why?" I shrugged. "You mention him a lot." She tilted her head. "You jealous?" It was said with a smirk, teasing, but underneath it, there was something else. Like she wanted me to be. Like she was waiting to see how far she could go. I laughed it off. Just curious. That night, after she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling and told myself I was being paranoid. That just because her voice lit up a little when she talked about someone new didn't mean anything. That people are allowed to have friends. Still, something sat in my chest like a stone. A few days later, I was grabbing a late-night Red Bull from the gas station near campus. I saw Riley's friend Anna at the next pump over. She waved. I hadn't seen her in weeks. We chatted for a bit, just small talk, nothing deep. But then I said, "You guys still doing your weekly girls' nights?" She hesitated, just for a second, barely noticeable. "Oh, yeah, sometimes. Not as much lately. I think Riley's been hanging with her psych group more." "Yeah, she's mentioned them. Cody, right?" That pause again. This time longer. "Yeah, him." There was a tone shift barely there, but I caught it. "You know him?" I asked. She gave a tight smile. "Not really. Just seen him around. He's a lot. A lot how?" Anna opened her mouth, then seemed to think better of it. "I should go. It's freezing." That conversation stayed in my head for days. Spinning, changing shape every time I tried to make it make sense. I told myself not to spiral. Not to do the cliche thing where the boyfriend starts playing detective over nothing. But then came the night Riley didn't come home. It was a Friday. She said she was going out for one drink after her night class, a small celebration for finishing a major paper. I texted her around 10. No reply. At 11:30, I called. Straight to voicemail. By 1 a.m., I was pacing the living room. She came home at 2:12. I heard her key fumble in the lock. The door opened slow. I was sitting on the couch in the dark. She jumped when she saw me. "Jesus," she said, hand on her chest. "You scared me. Where were you?" She blinked. "I told you, out with my group." "For 5 hours?" Her face closed up. "I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd wait up. My phone died." It hadn't. I saw it light up on the way in. "Who were you with?" She dropped her coat, walked past me into the kitchen. "I don't want to fight." I followed her. "I'm not fighting. I'm asking." She opened the fridge, stared into it like it held answers. It was a group thing. Cody was there. A few others. Did something happen? She turned around fast. "Why are you asking me that?" "Because you look guilty." Her mouth opened, then closed. "I'm tired," she said finally. "Can we just go to bed?" I nodded, but I didn't sleep. The next morning, she was up early, cleaning, scrubbing countertops that didn't need scrubbing, rearranging cabinets, like she was trying to erase something. I watched her from the hallway. There was something in the way she moved, quick, jittery, like a wire pulled too tight. And for the first time in our relationship, I realized something I couldn't unrealize. Riley was hiding something. I didn't know what. Not yet. But I could feel it pulling at the seams of whatever we had left. A secret with teeth. And whether I wanted to or not, I was getting close enough to hear it breathing. I found out about the party by accident. Riley hadn't mentioned it. She said she was going to a study hangout with her psych group. Nothing big, nothing wild. Just pizza, music, maybe a few drinks. That's what she called it when she left in a hoodie and jeans, hair up in a bun, no makeup. Low-key, she said. I'll be back before midnight. She got home at 3:14 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was still awake. Couldn't sleep. Something about that night felt off, and I couldn't explain it. She came in through the front door, not our usual side entrance, moving quiet, careful, like she didn't want to wake me. When I stepped into the hall, she flinched. "Oh," she said, breathless. "You scared me. You said midnight." "I know. I'm sorry. We lost track of time. Someone put on a documentary about cults, and we all got sucked in." She laughed like it was funny. It wasn't. I could smell vodka on her breath, under a layer of mint gum. Her hoodie was zipped up high, sleeves pulled over her hands like she was hiding in her own skin. Her mascara was smudged, and Riley hadn't been wearing mascara when she left. I stared at her for a long second. "You okay?" She nodded too fast. "Just tired." She kissed me quick, closed lip, and ducked into the bathroom. I stood in the hallway and listened to the water run. 10 minutes, then 20. She stayed in there longer than usual, door locked, even though she rarely locked it before. That was the first time I felt something shift in the walls of our apartment. Not the big kind of shift, the structural kind. Quiet, permanent. The next day, I found out it hadn't been a study night at all. I was grabbing coffee near campus when I ran into Tyler, a guy I barely knew but had seen a few times at Riley's old parties. He slapped me on the shoulder, grinning. "Yo, your girl's hilarious, man. She killed it at Cody's party." I blinked. "What party?" He laughed. "Last Friday? Cody's birthday?" "Bro, it was chaos. People jumping in the pool. Body shots. Spin the Bottle made a comeback like it was 2009. Whole thing was nuts." My stomach dropped. She told me it was just a chill study night. He raised an eyebrow. She must have changed her mind last minute, then. She was there most of the night. Ask anyone. He walked off like it was nothing. But it wasn't. That night, I scrolled through Instagram. Riley hadn't posted anything. Neither had Cody. But Cody's roommate, some guy named Jace, had a public story saved in his highlights. Cody's Rager clinking beer mugs, sign of horns. It was 15 stories long. Blurry drinks. A pyramid of red Solo cups. Girls singing on a table. Guys doing shots in the kitchen. Background music vibrating through every frame. Halfway through, there she was. Riley. Not the Riley I knew. Not hoodie wearing, documentary watching Riley. This version had her hair down. Tight crop top. Short black skirt I hadn't seen before. She was dancing loose, loud, hands in the air, with a crowd of people I didn't recognize. Someone handed her a shot and she downed it like it was water. Then she laughed and leaned into someone. Cody. He was shirtless, painted with glitter or something dumb like that. He had his arm around her waist, pulling her toward him. She didn't resist, just smiled, maybe whispered something in his ear. The story cut out. I felt the heat rise in my chest, my ears, my fingertips. Not because of what I'd seen, not just that, but because she'd lied. Lied so smoothly I wouldn't have questioned it if Tyler hadn't slipped up. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of our bed, phone in hand, screen dim, heart hammering. The next morning, I asked her, "How was Cody's party?" She froze at the kitchen sink, slowly turned around. "What?" I said, "How was the party?" "The one you said didn't exist." Her eyes darted. "Where did you hear that?" "Does it matter?" She crossed her arms. "It wasn't planned. I stopped by with some people after the study group. I didn't think it was a big deal." "You said you watched a documentary." She blinked. "We did. Later." I stepped closer. "You wore a hoodie when you left." "Not. Whatever that outfit was in Jace's story." She paled. "You were checking people's stories?" "Yeah," I said, "because I stopped trusting your words." Silence. Then she said the one thing that made my skin crawl. "It wasn't like that." "Like what?" She never finished the sentence. I let it drop for then, but I knew I was sitting on something ugly. And whatever she was trying to bury that night, it wasn't buried deep enough. Later that week, Riley left her laptop open. I wasn't snooping, not at first, but a notification pinged in the corner while she was in the shower. It was a Discord message. Username, PsychSOC Jokers. The message read, "Still can't believe she actually went through with it. I owe you a bottle, dude." I didn't open the app, didn't click anything. I just sat there staring at that message until the screen went black. That night, Riley was quiet. She sat close to me on the couch, like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't seen the video, like I hadn't read the message. She laughed at a movie we weren't watching, rested her head on my shoulder like she hadn't just shattered something sacred between us. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. She was performing normal, because she knew she'd broken it, Dot. And she wasn't sorry, Dot. She was waiting to see if I'd find out how. That's when I realized I wasn't just losing my girlfriend. I was walking into something that had already been planned. I just didn't know who the real player was yet. I wasn't planning to go. I told myself that over and over as I stared at the house on my phone screen, the one tagged in Cody's party post. Some two-story rental near campus with a sagging porch and Christmas lights still dangling in mid-January. But a week after that Discord message popped up, something inside me snapped. I needed to see it. Not for closure. Not even for revenge. I needed to know, not just guess, what really happened that night. So I drove. It was late. A Thursday. Rain in the air, pavement slick, sky bruised over with clouds. I parked 2 blocks away and walked. The house was quiet, a few lights on inside, music thumping faintly behind closed windows. The front lawn was littered with beer cans and bent folding chairs, leftovers from a party that had long since burned out. I hesitated on the porch. Part of me hoped no one would answer. But after a few knocks, the door creaked open. It wasn't Cody. It was Jace, his roommate. Scruffy beard, sleeveless shirt, eyes bloodshot. He squinted like he was trying to place me. "You lost or something?" I shook my head. "I'm looking for someone. Actually, I was hoping to ask you about a party. Cody's birthday, a couple weeks ago." He tilted his head. "You a cop?" "No." He leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. "Then why do you care?" I considered lying. Then I didn't. My girlfriend was here. Riley. Brunette. Black skirt, crop top. Recognition flashed across his face, quick, involuntary. "Ah, that Riley. What's that supposed to mean?" He gave a crooked smile. "She was the main event, man. The bet? Whole thing kinda centered around her." My stomach flipped. "What bet?" He raised both hands. "Look, I didn't come up with it. It was Cody's idea. He called it a social experiment. Bunch of psych kids trying to prove some theory about loyalty or inhibition or whatever." I stared at him. "What was the actual bet?" Jace hesitated, then shrugged. "It was stupid. Cody bet he could get someone's girlfriend to hook up with him in one night. Said he'd done it before. Claimed it was all about timing, pressure, creating the right vibe. Said most relationships are one party away from collapse." The air left my lungs. "And Riley?" Jace looked away. I didn't see anything happen. I'm not saying she did, but she was definitely part of it. She knew. It wasn't a surprise. She knew about the bet? He nodded slowly. Yeah, that's what made it weird. Cody told everyone beforehand loud, too. Like it was a joke, but not really. I thought she'd leave when she found out, but she didn't. She stayed, drank, laughed, got close. Something hot and nauseating rose in my chest. So what happened? Did he? Jace cut me off. Honestly, I don't know. They went upstairs at one point. People were chanting. It got loud, then quiet. Then she came back down alone. Didn't talk to anyone. Just left. I couldn't breathe. She didn't say anything to anyone? Jace shook his head. No. Just grabbed her coat and disappeared. Silence stretched between us. Then, as I turned to leave, he called out, "You're the boyfriend, right?" I turned back. "I think she regretted it," he said quietly. "Whatever happened up there, she didn't look proud." I didn't answer, just walked away. But as I hit the sidewalk, I heard someone call out from behind the house. Hey, a girl, maybe 21. Hoodie pulled over a beanie, cigarette between her fingers. She jogged up, I squinting. "You looking for Riley?" I froze. "Do you know her?" She nodded. "Kind of. I was there that night. Upstairs." My chest went tight. "What did you see?" She hesitated. "I shouldn't be telling you this. Please. I just need to know the truth." She studied me for a second, then sighed. I walked into the wrong room. Was looking for the bathroom. Opened a door, saw her sitting on the bed. Alone. Fully dressed. Crying. She looked wrecked. Like she'd done something she couldn't undo. I asked if she was okay. She said, "You didn't even have to try." Then she told me to get out. I swallowed hard. Did she say anything else? The girl flicked ash off her cigarette. "Just one thing. She said, I wanted to win." "I really did." "What does that mean?" She shook her head. "No idea. But I believed her when she said it. That girl wasn't faking anything. She looked like someone who thought she could handle a fire and realized too late it was already in her lungs." Then she turned and walked off, leaving me standing in the rain, shaking. I wanted to win. The words echoed in my head all the way home. What kind of bet did she agree to? What exactly was she trying to prove? And why, out of all the choices she could have made, did she let herself become the game? I didn't sleep that night. The image of her, alone on a stranger's bed, crying into her sleeves, haunted me more than if she just lied. Because regret isn't innocence. And sometimes guilt means you knew exactly what you were doing. I didn't confront her right away. After I left the house where the party happened, I went home and sat in my car for almost an hour. Rain on the windshield. Engine off. Phone in my lap. I didn't even know what I was waiting for. I just knew once the words left my mouth, nothing could go back. But silence has a weight, too. It builds. And after 2 days of pretending nothing had changed, I felt like I was living with a stranger who still wore my girlfriend's skin. So I asked her to sit down. She was curled on the couch, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, hair in a messy bun. She looked tired, or maybe just done. "I want to talk," I said. She looked up. No smile, no protest, just a slow, steady nod. "Okay." I sat across from her. The coffee table between us felt like more than wood and screws. It felt like a chasm. "You remember Cody's party?" Her eyes flicked away. "Yeah. You told me it was a study night." "I know. You lied." She didn't flinch. "Yeah." Silence. Just that small, sharp word floating between us. "Why?" Riley took a deep breath. "Because I didn't want to fight." "That's not an answer." She looked up. Her eyes weren't angry. They weren't even defensive. They were tired in a way that scared me. "I didn't want you to see that version of me." "What version is that?" She didn't speak right away. "The one who makes reckless decisions," she said finally. The one who goes too far trying to prove a point. The one who forgets who she's supposed to be. I leaned forward. Prove a point to who? To myself, she said, then paused. To other people, maybe. I don't know. I think you do. Her jaw tensed. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I felt the words like a crack in the wall. How far did it go? She looked down, hands twisting in her sleeves. I didn't sleep with him. I stared at her. That's not what I asked. I know, but that's what you're really afraid of, right? I didn't answer, because that wasn't it. Not really. It was the choice. The moment she stood at the edge and stepped off anyway. Did you know about the bed? Her eyes snapped to mine. There it was. Panic. Shame. Recognition. Who told you? Does it matter? She exhaled, closed her eyes. I didn't agree to it. Not at first. But you didn't stop it. She opened her mouth, then shut it. No, she said. I didn't stop it. Why? Her voice was a whisper. Because I didn't think I'd lose. Those words hit harder than anything else. I stood up, walked to the window. My reflection looked back at me, pale, hollow, stunned. You knew they were betting you'd cheat on me, I said quietly. And you still went. I thought I was stronger than it, she said. I thought I could be around it, laugh it off, prove them wrong. But you didn't. She didn't speak. How far did it go? I asked again. Her voice was small. We kissed. Once. I clenched my fists. Not because of the kiss. Because of the once. Like that was the unit of betrayal. Was that before or after you went upstairs? Her head snapped up. You talked to someone. Does that change what happened? Her lips parted. I didn't sleep with him. I believe you, I said. But that's not what I asked. She stood now, too. Crossed her arms. Then what do you want from me? I want to know what broke in you, I said. I want to know why you chose to test our relationship like it was some psych experiment. She blinked hard. You think I planned this? I think you wanted to prove something. I think you wanted to feel in control of your life again. And I think you used me to do it. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't cry. I felt invisible, she said. For months. I felt like I was performing this perfect girlfriend role and no one saw me. Not you. Not anyone. And then Cody said something that hit me in the exact wrong place at the exact wrong time. What did he say? She hesitated. Then, he said I was the kind of girl who always almost cheats. That I'd never let myself be fully bad, just close enough to smell it. I felt something cold run through me. And you wanted to prove him wrong? She shook her head. No, I wanted to prove I was better than that. But the second I walked in that house, it felt like I'd already lost. I stared at her. You could have walked away. I should have. But you didn't. No. She sat back down. This time slower. Heavier. I wanted to win, she whispered. But I didn't even know what winning meant anymore. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I asked, why did you cry that night? She looked at me, startled. I know you did, I said. Someone saw you, sitting alone. Said you told them something. Her voice cracked. I said, he didn't even have to try. What did you mean? She shook her head slowly. I meant, I walked in thinking I had something to prove. That I could play with fire and not get burned. But Cody, he knew. He saw it in me before I did. I didn't have to be pushed. Just offered the right door. I sat down across from her again. Not because I forgave her, but because I needed to see her eyes when she said the next part. Why didn't you tell me? She exhaled. Because once you see me like that, you'll never unsee it. I nodded. Because she was right. I loved you, she added, voice breaking. I still do. I know, I said. But sometimes love isn't what keeps people loyal. She covered her face with both hands. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I just didn't want to lie anymore. I stared at her. And I believed that part. She was done lying. But that didn't mean she'd told the truth. Not yet. Because there was still something else. Something no one had said out loud. And whatever it was still sitting between us. Waiting. I found out the full truth 2 weeks after that conversation with Riley. I wasn't looking for it. I was trying to move forward, or at least pretend I could. Riley and I didn't break up, not exactly. We just gave each other space. The kind where you leave the lights on but stop expecting anyone to come home. I thought I'd heard everything. Thought I knew the shape of what had happened. But there was still one part no one had explained. Why? Why Cody had targeted her. Why my Riley, had felt so easily pulled into someone else's game. I couldn't let it go. Not out of jealousy. Not even out of grief. Out of something colder. I wanted understanding. And sometimes, to understand a fire, you have to talk to the one who lit the match. So I found Cody. He was at the campus gym. Of course. Always shirtless under an open hoodie, like he thought his abs were a personality. I caught him near the water fountain, wiping sweat off his neck. He saw me and smirked. Well, the boyfriend. I didn't smile. We need to talk. He looked around theatrically. In public? No fists then. My face is a precious commodity. I stepped closer. What did you do to her? He blinked, then shrugged. Define do. The bet. The manipulation. All of it. He laughed. Man, you're still stuck on that? Just tell me the truth. Cody leaned back against the wall, clearly enjoying himself. Fine. You want truth? Here it is. Riley wasn't some innocent lamb I lured into the woods. She was bored. You played it safe. She was looking for a fuse, and I handed her the lighter. I clenched my jaw. She told me about you, he continued. How you stopped really seeing her. How you planned everything to death. How she wanted to feel like someone couldn't predict her next move. You exploited that. He raised an eyebrow. I understood it. And the bet. He smiled. Simple. I said I could get her to cheat. Everyone in our group laughed. Said she was loyal. Too smart. I said everyone's got a crack. You just need to know where to press. You set her up. I gave her choices. She made them. The casual cruelty in his voice made something snap. I swung before I realized what I was doing. Fist. Jaw. Crack. He stumbled back, hand in his mouth, blood already pooling where my knuckles landed. He looked up, dazed but grinning. Touchy. I'm not here to argue philosophy, I said. You think this makes you better than me? He spat. You think she's yours now, just because I lost? No, I said quietly. She was never yours to win. And then I walked away. I didn't wait for security. Didn't look back. I felt something settle in me, not peace, but clarity. Cody wasn't a seducer. He was a demolition expert. He didn't want Riley. He wanted to watch someone unravel. Wanted the power to say, I did that. And she let him. That night, I went back to our apartment. Riley was sitting on the floor with a candle burning beside her, knees hugged to her chest like she'd shrunk. When she saw me, her eyes went wide. Did you find him? She asked. I nodded. Her lip trembled. What did he say? The truth. She looked away. You were a target, I said. But you made it easy for him. She flinched like I'd hit her. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because I need to understand the whole version of what happened. She wiped her eyes. I didn't think he'd really do it. Not like that. He said he got in your head. She nodded slowly. He did. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice broke. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want you to know that someone could flip me so easily. That he saw a version of me I didn't want to admit existed. I sat beside her. I'm not going to punish you, I said. But I'm also not going to forget what this did to us. I wouldn't want you to. Silence settled over us like dust. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Carefully, like she didn't know if she was allowed. I want to fix this, she whispered. We can't go back. No, she said. But maybe we can go forward. Slower. Smarter. I nodded. Because here's the truth. She made a terrible choice. One she'll carry in pieces for a long time. But Cody? He was the architect of it. The one who dressed manipulation up as curiosity, wrapped degradation in the language of social experimentation. He was the kind of person who thought empathy was a weakness, a flaw he could exploit. And in a moment of weakness, Riley believed him. But she came back. Broken, yes, but she came back. And I stayed. Not because I forgot, but because sometimes the scar reminds you where the fire touched, and that next time, you keep water closer. We're still together now. Different, quieter, but together. We go to therapy. We have rules. Honesty is non-negotiable. When she's distant, I ask. When I'm overwhelmed, I tell her. No more pretending. No more secrets. Some nights, when it's quiet, I'll catch her watching me with a look I can't name. It's not guilt, exactly. It's not love, either. It's something in between. A kind of mourning for the version of us that didn't survive that party. I don't know if we'll make it, but I know I've stopped waiting for someone else to break us. And I know what fire smells like now. So next time, I'll see the smoke early. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.